Yo, what's up guys? Today we're going to be doing a very extensive power metal list. We have over 75 bands ready to be ranked, so let's get on with it. You know how our tier list works. It goes from S to D, and just because something is in D tier does not mean it's awful. There's lots of good music from lots of these D tier bands. I just have to put something in the D tier, you know what I mean? If you like power metal like as much as I do, go down, check the power metal playlist I have linked in the description. It's on Spotify. It should contain most of the songs that are on this list that are available on Spotify. Some aren't. But yeah, give it a like. It's my life's work, as you could say, I guess. Filtering the best of the power metal tracks. Anyways, you know, I listened to power metal pretty much exclusively for like 3 years in university. It was like power metal and Eurobeat pretty much exclusively for 3 years. So a lot of these bands I've been listening to for like 5-6 years. So in preparation for this, I went back and re-listened to a lot of these bands to give them my ratings. But yeah, let's not waste too much more time because this is going to be a long video. Let's get on with it. All right, so we're going to be starting off with the almighty 3 Inches of Blood. Now, these guys are a Canadian band. Maybe not necessarily what most people would consider power metal, but I can definitely consider them power metal. You know, power metal mixed with a lot of other stuff. You know, their singer, Cam Pipes, has a set of great pipes on them. Their music kind of ranges a lot from more of Iron Maiden kind of worship style to more of like a metalcore into thrash and pretty much everything in between. Yeah, really good band. We're going with B tier to start us off with 3 Inches of Blood right in B tier. My favorite tracks by them would be Deadly Sinners, Sunrise Over the Fjords, and Goat Rider's Horde. Alright, the next band I have on my list is Affiance. You're gonna squeak? You wanna be on camera? Sorry, it's my dog squeaking his toy. You wanna be on camera? So the next band on the list would be Affiance. Now, Affiance is definitely more of like a power metalcore band. One of the few bands to ever do this. And I really enjoyed their first album, Calculated Control. Really good. The rest of their stuff, kind of not so much for me. I just think that this band is criminally... Look at her. She's squeaking. You squeaking? I think this band is criminally underrated, as I think they were just a little bit too power metal for the core kids and a little bit too core for all the power metal fans. For Affiance, we are going in the C tier. And my favorite tracks by them would be Kings of Deceit, Calculated Control, the song, and The Hive. The Hive! Good band. Good band. Alright, so next up on the list would be the power metal kings themselves, Alestorm. Now, underneath the sort of power metal aesthetic, there's actually a really good, quite solid power metal band with some pretty good vocals, a lot of great keyboard playing, some decent riffs, and a lot of really memorable, catchy choruses. I think Alestorm's pirate gimmick definitely helps them stand out in the field of power metal bands. Yeah, great band, great band. We're going to put these guys right into B tier. And my favorite tracks by Alestorm here would be that famous Old Spice, The Sunken Norwegian, and Keelhauled. We got a lot to go through, so I'm going to try to pack these in pretty tight here, so I don't run out of room. Alright, the next band up would be the French power prog band, Alchemist. They released 2 albums in the early 2000s. And they have a really good 90s, you know, power prog sound, but released in the 2000s. I really enjoy their album, A Meeting in the Mist. Really good stuff, but the other stuff doesn't really hit me quite as hard as that album. Favorite tracks by them are The Nameless Sun, both tracks, Meeting in the Mist, and Still Alive. We're gonna go with C tier for Alchemist here. Alright, next up we have the Brazilian power metal band, Angra. Brazilian band, first album's really quite good. You know, there's a lot of good stuff in here. I do kind of like the more Brazilian rhythms they got kind of going on the first few albums. Then they became more with standard power metal. I really like their cover of Wuthering Heights by Kate Bush. That was great. And Carry On, you know, is just an absolute metal classic. Their follow-up Holy Land is a pretty cool concept album about, you know, the Spanish and Portuguese landing in Brazil and finding everything like that. Pretty cool band, and I very much enjoy their 2004 release, Temple of Shadows. We're going to put Angra here in B tier. My favorite songs from Angra are Carry On, Heroes of Sand, and The Shadow Hunter. Yeah, good stuff. Next band up, we have At Vance. These are a German neoclassical power metal band. I know these guys mostly from their sort of short power metal interpretations of famous classical music passages. You know, that's really interesting. But they have a lot of good original songs as well. Pretty solid band, but, you know, we're going to have to go with the C tier for them here. And for them, my favorite songs by Advance would be Only Human, Princess of the Night, and Ride the Sky. Next up, we have Avantasia. You know, this is a power metal supergroup originally formed by Edguy frontman Tobias Sammet. This is originally supposed to be just like a 2-album project, but it eventually blossomed into something much more, obviously, as they now, I think, have 5 albums out. But yeah, very grandiose, you know, epic melodic power metal. Good stuff here. You know, the original 2 albums are really good, and I love Tobias's voice. You know, they have over 600,000 plays on Spotify, which is pretty good for what I would consider more of like a niche kind of power metal band. But yeah, pretty good stuff. We are going in A tier for Avantasia, our first A tier band. My favorite tracks by Avantasia would probably be their self-titled song, Avantasia, Lucifer, and Free Will, probably. Yeah, I really like those tracks. Next up, we have Blind Guardian. And do I really even need to say anything here? You know, easy S tier. I really don't need to describe much more. You know Blind Guardian, I know Blind Guardian, S tier band for sure. My favorite tracks by them are the Bard song In the Forest, Time, What is Time. I would say Traveler in Time, but there's so many Blind Guardian songs that I absolutely love. Please check them out if you have not, but if you're watching this video and you have not checked out Blind Guardian, I don't really know what you're even doing here. Let's move on. Alright, so now we have Borealis. So, great Canadian band with a really nice baritone singer. They sort of have a more, you know, up-paced, kind of more heavy, groovy metal style to their power metal, which is very cool. I enjoy it quite a bit. And, you know, I like the World of Silence original rather than the remake. The remake, it's okay, but, you know, the original is much better. My favorite songs by Borealis would be World of Silence, Words I Failed to Say, and Breaking the Curse. We're going to give Borealis a B tier. Next up, we have Brokus Helm. One of the older, sort of more traditional power metal, or traditional heavy metal bands that sort of gets lumped into power metal. I sort of consider it more of like one broader category, I guess. You know, I originally heard them from the video game Brutal Legend. They have their song The Banshees Scream in there. Or sorry, Cry of the Banshee with that really cool bass intro. That was in Brutal Legend, which is a great video game. But yeah, I mean, like, just okay. We're going to put these guys in D tier. Not the biggest fan of their music, unfortunately. For me, we're going to go with Cry of the Banshee. We're going to go with Cry of the Banshee, Time of the Dark, and Defender of the Crown for tracks to check out by Brokus Helm here. Concerto Moon. Basically, the Japanese version of Yngwie Malmsteen, complete with various singer changes over the years. You know, their early stuff is pretty much, you know, Yngwie worship to a 9th degree. The newer stuff a little bit less so, but, you know, it still retains that Yngwie flavor and that Yngwie sound. But, you know, I like it a lot. I really like their album From Father to Son. And I mean, like, they got a ton of music out. So if you've never heard these guys and you sort of like that Yngwie neoclassical sound, you should definitely check them out. We're going to put them in B tier. You know, I quite enjoy Concerto Moon, personally. My favorite songs by them would be Savior Never Cry, One and Only, and Picture of an Old Man. Next up, we have Crimson Glory. You know, this is one of the sort of OG power metal bands. Their 1986 self-titled release is like incredibly influential and pretty mind-blowing that it came out in 1986, honestly. Pretty good band, and their follow-up Transcendence was really good as well. Yeah, pretty good power prog band. I enjoy them. We're gonna give Crimson Glory an A tier. My favorite songs by them would be Valhalla, Lady of Winter, and Azrael. Azrael? I don't know. A-Z-R-E-A-L. Azrael? I guess, whatever. Dark Moor. Now we have some power metal out of Spain. You know, I definitely enjoy the earlier albums with their female singer a lot more. Cool neoclassical stuff, great keyboard playing. Yeah, pretty solid band. We're gonna give them a C tier though. Definitely not my favorite type of power metal. But, you know, I do enjoy their album Gates of Oblivion quite a bit. Pretty good. My favorite songs by them would be The Strange Path of Destiny, A New World, and First Lance of Spain. Next up, we have Dio. And do I really need to explain? This is another S tier. And while people may not really consider Dio that much of a power metal band, I think that you could definitely at least classify them as proto power metal, if not, you know, slower paced power metal. You know, like all the fantasy lyrics are there, the singing, the riffs, whatever. Dio is S tier. The more power metal songs to check out by them would be Rainbow in the Dark, We Rock, and Wild Ones. Probably the more power metal side of the Dio train there. Moving on, we have Dionysus. Named after the ancient Greek god. Pretty good neoclassical band. You know, a lot of these power metal bands, I'm going to be saying a lot of the same stuff as, I think lots of them kind of fit in the same category. They're all just sort of middle of the road, you know, neoclassical power metal bands, and it really takes something special to stand out in the sort of sea of good power metal bands, good to great power metal bands, and move up to superb, the S tier, you know what I mean? But yeah, Dionysus, pretty good. But yeah, you know, again, like, there's probably a lot of other stuff I'd probably rather listen to the Dionysus. Dionysus we're putting in C tier. My favorite tracks by Dionysus would be Anima Mundi, Closer to Life, Closer to the Sun, and Illusion of Life. Okay, now we're on to Dragon Force. And Dragon Force is maybe the pioneers of extreme power metal. You know, it's fast, crazy, there's blast beats. It's pretty interesting stuff, but you know, underneath all the crazy guitar solos and extremely fast drumming, there is a lot of great songwriting and really good melodies, very catchy choruses. And I think Dragon Force is probably the power metal band most known to normies. You know, thanks to Guitar Hero. We're going straight to A tier for Dragon Force. Favorite tracks by them will go Cry Thunder, Fury of the Storm, and Valley of the Damned. Alright, Dream Evil. They're a Swedish power metal band, kind of verging more on sort of the traditional heavy metal sound with a little bit more rock influence in it, if that makes any sense to you guys. Like, there's sort of like the neoclassical approach and the more rock approach to power metal. It's kind of like the two lanes. They definitely fall into more rock style, but regardless, I still really enjoy them. Their first album is wonderful. Yeah, pretty good stuff. I enjoy the singer. He's got a great voice. My favorite tracks by them would be Chosen Ones, In Flames You Burn, and Immortal. We're going for a B tier for Dream Evil. All right, Ed Guy. I mentioned their singer, Tobias Sammet, in the Avantasia section, but Ed Guy is one of the biggest power metal bands, incredibly influential, you know, power metal done perfectly, in my opinion. This is what I want the sort of solid power metal to be, just extremely catchy, full of hooks, good stuff, great singing, great keyboard playing, great guitarist, great stuff, love it. Ed Guy is an easy S tier as well. Favorite tracks by Ed Guy would be Vainglory Opera, Tears of a Mandrake, and King of Fools. Alright, next up we have Eternal Champion. Now, again, this is probably debatable if these guys are actually power metal. They definitely fall more on the traditional heavy metal side, especially with their production style, which is very 80s focused, right? It sounds like it comes straight out of the 80s. If you haven't listened to them, I definitely recommend checking them out. The Armor of Ire is an absolutely incredible album. I really enjoy Eternal Champion. I'm going to put these guys right into the A tier. Favorite tracks by them are I Am the Hammer, The Last King of Pictum, and Ravening Iron. Great stuff. Falconer. Swedish power metal band with probably my favorite name of all time. They incorporate a lot of more folk elements into their tracks, which helps them stand out. I like that a lot. They got some good stuff. I'm going to put them directly into B tier. My favorite tracks by them would probably be Mind Traveler, Northwind, and We Sold Our Homesteads. We Sold Our Homesteads especially is a very unique and interesting track that you don't really hear in a lot of our other power metal bands. Good stuff. Good stuff. We're going B tier for Falconer. Alright, so up next we have Freedom Call. These guys are another German power metal band. They have a huge back catalog of music, and they've been making music for quite a long time. You know, back in the day, I tried to listen to Freedom Call quite a bit, but their sound just never really grabbed me. I don't know, it's just like too edgeless, too happy, too major key, I guess. You know, I don't really know, just never really grabbed me. I'm going to be putting Freedom Call in the D tier. I'm sorry for all Freedom Call fans. And what's going on with these guys on Spotify here? You know, I tried to go back and listen to a lot of their songs on Spotify, but you know, like most of the songs in their first two albums are all grayed out. Maybe some sort of writing dispute or something. I don't know. Tell me if you know what's going on in the comments. But yeah, my first tracks from them would be We Are One, Bleeding Heart, and Union of the Strong. Alright, so now we have Galnerias. Probably my favorite power metal band of all time. They are from Japan, have an absolute monster of a guitarist in the name of Sue. You know, they had two great vocalists with Yamabe and then their other guy, who I can't really remember the name of right now, but I think he was a pop singer beforehand. Anyways, really good stuff, incredible albums. You know, the first like 6 albums are really good, and they continue the quality even to this day. In the power metal playlist that I linked down below, just love these guys. This is an easy S tier for me. My favorite tracks by Galnerias are Burn My Heart, Silent Revelation, and New Legend. But man, like, they're just tons and tons and tons of great tracks by Galnerias. Please check them out. Gamma Ray. After leaving Halloween, Kai Hansen, the genius, would move on to his next project, Gamma Ray, and I'm so glad he did. You know, just what a great power metal band. Land of the Free, what an absolute great album. Just high energy, just great power metal. This is another S tier for me. Love this band. I think I like them probably a little bit more than Halloween, to be completely honest. Although they are different styles of power metal. Yeah, I think my favorite songs by them would be Rebellion in Dreamland, Land of the Free, and probably Dethrone Tyranny. Yeah, I think those will be the 3 tracks. Although there's tons and tons of other great ones as well. Glory Hammer. You know, is there such a thing as too much cheese? Maybe. You know, I think these guys sort of take the power metal tongue-in-cheek nature, you know, cheesiness of battles and all this stuff, and raise it to like the nth degree. Like, it's almost too much for me. You know, I'm gonna put these guys in C tier, although they do have some good tracks. I'm not gonna deny they don't have some good tracks. It's just like kind of a little bit goofy, I guess. I think that's the point. Whatever. Anyways, favorite tracks by them would be Masters of the Galaxy, Rise of the Chaos Wizards, and Hoots Force, which is a very interesting name for a song, I must say. Gravedigger. You know, one of the OG power metal bands, sort of part of the German Big Four, power metal, Teutonic, whatever you want to call them. A band with just a huge back catalog of music as well. It's pretty good stuff. Pretty good, you know, but I'm not the biggest fan of the vocal style. It almost sounds like if Motorhead tried to sing power metal. You know, it's okay. I'm not the biggest fan of Gravedigger, to be honest. We're gonna go with C tier for them. Favorite tracks by Gravedigger would be Excalibur, Rebellion, and Lionheart. Gunbridge. Now, this is the band that Yamabe formed after he left or was kicked out of Galnerias. I don't really know what happened there, but yeah, after he was out, he released an album with these guys, a few tracks, pretty good stuff, you know, but it's obvious Yamabe just needs that awesome guitar work of Sue, so we're gonna go with D tier for Gunbridge, although I do enjoy some of the songs quite a bit. Favorite tracks by them would be 10,000's Cry, Gladiator, and Baptism of Steel. Alright, Hammerfall. Formed by one of the In Flames guitarists and I think some other Swedish death metal band. Pretty cool stuff. You know, this band toured with Death, so, you know, any band that tours with Death can't be that bad, right? I think we're going to go with A tier for Hammerfall. I enjoy their sort of very catchy type of power metal. Lots of good riffs, obviously, because I think the guitarist from In Flames is playing drums in this band. So I'm sure he helps write some riffs for here as well. Good stuff. Favorite tracks by them would be Bloodbound, Hammer High, and Glory to the Brave. A tier. A tier band for Hammerfall. Heaven's Gate. Alright, Heaven's Gate is another German power metal band that sort of has more of like a rock influence to it. Their singer really kind of reminds me of, you know, Brian Johnson, you know, the Accept kind of, you know, Axl Rose kind of high falsetto kind of scream singing kind of thing. It's pretty cool. I really enjoy their album Live in Hysteria. We're gonna go with A tier, or sorry, excuse me, we're gonna go with B tier for Heaven's Gate here. My favorite tracks by them would be Living in Hysteria, The Never Ending Fire, and Gates of Heaven. Good stuff. Halloween. I mean, like, similar to Blind Guardian, do I really need to say much more about this? You know, Keeper of the Seven Keys, one of the most influential power metal albums of all time. Easily S tier. Easy S. My favorite tracks by them would be I Want Out, I'm Alive, and If I Could Fly. Awesome stuff. Love Halloween. Iced Earth. Another American power metal band with tons of eras and tons of variety and sound. Lots of great singers came through here. I think Tim Ripper Owens was in here. Great band. John Schaefer probably has to be one of the best rhythm guitarists of all time, easily. Yeah, I think Iced Earth to me is another S tier band. My favorite songs by them would be 10,000 Strong, Anthem, and probably Ghost of Freedom. I'll put that one up there. But, you know, there's a lot of the older Iced Earth stuff is really good, too. And it's kind of more of extreme power metal, I guess you could say. Maybe more a little bit thrashy. Great stuff. S tier band as well, easily. Now we have Yog Panza. Or in North American English, Jag Panzer. Another one of the early 80s sort of trad heavy metal bands that sort of get lumped into power metal. You know, not bad. You know, some of the stuff is pretty good, but we're going to go with D tier for Jag Panzer. My favorite tracks by them would be Harder Than Steel, Achilles, and License to Kill. All right, Judas Priest. Now, Judas Priest's old stuff is definitely not power metal, but I have yet to really hear a convincing argument as to why Painkiller, the album, is not a power metal album. Like, that is the sound of power metal. You could say it's just, you know, amped up traditional heavy metal, but isn't that just what power metal is at the end of the day? Anyways, whatever. You know Judas Priest, you know they're an S tier band. Great stuff. My favorite tracks by them would be One Shot at Glory, Hell Patrol, and Nostradamus in terms of like the power metal Judas Priest, I guess. Great stuff, S tier. Judicator. Now these guys are a newer power metal band, and they sort of have this cool Byzantine, you know, medieval Christianity aesthetic to them, which is very unique. You don't see that a lot. Lots of great riffs, great catchy choruses. It's pretty aggressive power metal. It's right on the, I'd say it's more of like power thrash, I guess. Great stuff. I'm gonna put these guys in A tier. My favorite tracks by them would be Gloria, Judgment, and Tomorrow's Sun. Great stuff. A tier band. Jupiter. The first of the Visual K, you know, Japanese power metal bands are going to be on this list. You know, I mentioned I liked Eurobeat too, so the sort of Japanese stuff. I was really into like Initial D and Japanese cars at that time too. So, you know, all the Japanese power metal sort of filtered onto me too. Jupiter, I think it was formed by some of the other members of Versailles. Some decent stuff, but to be honest, I'd just rather listen to Versailles if I'm going to listen to that style. They're going in D tier. My favorite tracks by them would be Birth of Venus, Scarlet, and The Theory of Evolution. Yeah, that's D tier for Jupiter. Camelot. So, you know, they're a pretty popular band, and any band that has Tommy Karavik in it, you know, has to be great. Going to go A tier for Camelot. My favorite tracks by them. Actually, I really enjoy their latest album, or is really good. My favorite tracks by them would be One More Flag on the Ground, Forever, and March of Mephisto. All right, next up we have Labyrinth. You know, an Italian power metal band. They're pretty popular in Italy, but outside of that, not too much. Return to Heaven Denied is an absolute classic. Really good power prog metal. We're going to put these guys in B tier. You know, some of their other stuff kind of misses for me, but Return to Heaven Denied Part 1, and then the second one is pretty good. I love that stuff. My favorite tracks by them would be The Shooting Star, Lady Lost in Time, and Falling Rain. Actually, let me, you know, I'm sure this is bothering people. Let me just fix this here. Very much better. Are you happy? All right, Lightbringer. Very upbeat, you know, happy and enjoyable Japanese power metal. Really good singer, really strong singer. Some good, some pretty good keyboard playing, some good riffs. Yeah, good stuff. I'm gonna go with C tier for Lightbringer. My favorite tracks by them would be Upstream Children, Resistance, and Hyperion. All right, so now we're at Lost Horizon. You know, these guys came, dropped 2 of the best power metal albums of all time, and then just disappeared. Daniel Hyman's my favorite power metal singer of all time. These guys, this is an easy yes. Like, if you never listen to these guys, you really have to. They're 2 albums. They only have 2. Incredible, absolutely fantastic power metal albums. Easy S tier. For me, my favorite tracks by them would be Cry of a Restless Soul, Lost in the Depths of Me, and Perfect Warrior. Love these guys. Easy S tier. Manila Road. You know, another one of those early 80s traditional heavy metal bands that kind of gets thrown into the power metal scene. There's some good stuff here, but, you know, just the production on all their records is just complete dookie. Like, it's, you know, and not even in a good way, really. You know, Crystal Logic, you know, was their first album, so you can kind of forgive it, but everything after that is just sounds just so bad. It's hard for me to get past how bad some of these albums sound. Despite that, there are some good songs, so we're gonna go, and I do have to respect the influence they have on power metal scene at large, so we're gonna go with C tier for them. My favorite tracks by them are Necropolis, Witch's Brew, and Crystal Logic. Other bands play Manowar Kills. S tier. I don't care. Manowar is an S tier power metal band for me. My favorite Manowar tracks are, let's go, we'll go Battle Hymns, God of War, and Heart of Steel. Let's go, now, up next we have Master Plan. Pretty good, another German supergroup power metal. I think they're formed from some guys from Halloween, although don't quote me on that, I can't remember exactly. First album's really good. Lots of good tracks. I'm going to put these guys in B tier. My favorite tracks by Master Plan would be Spirit Never Die, Crimson Rider, and Blow Your Minds. Good stuff. Next up, we have another Japanese power metal band, Mataru Opera. I'm not really sure how you're supposed to pronounce this stuff. But yeah, sort of a power metal visual K band that brings in a lot of alternative metal and gothic kind of, you know, the Japanese kind of gothic visual K aesthetic to their music. I really like when they have more power metal stuff to them, like their power metal tracks are really great, but the stuff that kind of leans more into the alternative side, I'm not that big of a fan of. Favorite tracks for them would be Burning Soul, Gloria, and Justice. Burning Soul! Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, good stuff. We'll go, you know, despite that, I like... You are gonna go D tier for these guys. Alright, so now we have Michael Kiske and Amanda Somerville. Now, Michael Kiske is from Halloween fame, and they released a couple solo albums together, which I actually thought were really good, especially City of Heroes. I thought that was really quite good. The other first album, not so much, wasn't that big of a fan of. Their voices work really well together, and my wife and I actually really enjoy listening to City of Heroes. She sings along to Amanda's parts, and I'll sing along to Michael's. Good stuff. I'm gonna go with C tier for these guys here. I'm just gonna make this a little bit smaller so it fits a little bit better. My favorite tracks by them would be Walk on Water, After the Night is Over, and An Ocean of Tears. Great stuff. Great stuff, but you know, I can't really put it higher than C tier. Like, come on. Alright, Nightwish. Now, you can argue they're just symphonic metal or folk metal, blah, blah, whatever. They're power metal, bro. They're power metal. And they're an easy S tier. Probably some of those beautiful music ever written and recorded. My favorite tracks by them would be The Islander, Ever Dream, and Sleeping Sun. Great stuff. Love Nightwish. Next up, we have Nocturnal Rites. Not bad. Not the best. Pretty good. They sort of range in styles from sort of like Iron Maiden worship on the first other albums to more of like more traditional power, heavy metal, to more traditional power metal sound after that. Not bad. You know, there's probably a lot of other bands to listen to, but a few of the tracks get regular rotation whenever they come on in my power metal playlist there. We're gonna go with C tier. My favorite tracks by them would be Test of Time, Iron Force, and Glorious. And my death will be glorious. Power Quest. Now, I'll admit, when I was going and writing the notes for this video, I thought some of the Power Quest songs were actually Freedom Call songs. I got it kind of mixed up. To me, they're sort of kind of like the same band, you know, a little bit too happy, a little bit too soft and edgeless for me. They're going in D tier. Despite that, they do have a pretty good, some decent tracks. I like Lost Without You, Far Away, and Temple of Fire. Now we have Powerwolf. You know, very bombastic, over-the-top metal, obviously pretty tongue-in-cheek, but, you know, they got some good songs, but, you know, a nice baritone voice, but I'm not the biggest fan of when you kind of, you know, be genuine in your appreciation of power metal, don't, you know, make fun of it. if that makes any sense. I don't know. I'm just not the biggest fan of Powerwolf. We're gonna go with C tier for these guys, although I do respect how popular they are. My favorite tracks by them would probably be We Drink Your Blood, Saved by the Storm. Primal Fear, like... This is a pretty decent band. I think the guy who sings in Primal Fear, addition to being Judas Priest, and you can tell, kind of like a Judas Priest Painkiller worship album, you know, worship band, especially like the first couple albums when they, you know, morphed into their own sort of thing. You know, not really my style. I would just rather listen to Painkiller, you know what I mean? So we're going in D tier. But I do have a few good tracks from them. I like Light Years from Home, Vote of No Confidence, and Hatred in My Soul. Rage. One of those, you know, German big power metal bands. They're pretty good. A huge back catalog to go through. They're kind of way more thrashy in the beginning, but as the time moved on, their singer stopped doing this sort of weaker falsetto singing and moved it down into this more of a deeper baritone style singing, which I think works a lot better. I'm gonna go with B tier for Rage. I'd rather listen to a lot of other stuff, but I do have to respect how important and influential they are. My favorite Rage tracks are The Crawling Chaos, Under the Black Crown, and In a Nameless Time. I think that's what that song is called. Yeah, pretty good. Riot. This is a band I also heard in Brutal Legend. I think their song Road Racing was in it. Pretty good stuff. You know, Thundersteel is a really good and important album in power metal, but kind of the rest of the stuff doesn't really hit for me. Album covers are kind of whack besides Thundersteel. But, you know, that's part of the charm, I guess. We're gonna go with C tier for Riot. My favorite tracks by them would be Road Racing, Runaway, and Thundersteel. Alright, Sabaton. You know, I think Sabaton is extremely overhated. You know, what exactly is so egregious about Sabaton's music that it makes people hate them? Is it that they're just popular? You know, they make great, catchy power metal that has lots of historical references, which I love, being a big, you know, nerd, history nerd. Yeah, good. You know, I'm gonna put this in S tier, and I really don't care what other people have to say. They're an S tier band. So many bangers, great albums. They're extremely popular. They put on a great live show. You know, a lot of these bands never really come to Canada here, so I don't really get to see many. I think of all these bands that I've seen, I think Blind Guardian, any others so far in this, I think just Blind Guardian and Sabaton, sadly. You know, not very many people come up to where I'm living here in Edmonton. But yeah, they're an S-tier band, and I won't hear anything else about it. My favorite tracks by them are A Lifetime of War, Price of a Mile, and Cliffs of Gallipoli. Alright, Sacred Outcry. This is a newer power metal band. They're from Greece, of all places. Shout out Greece. Their first album, pretty good stuff, but their second album featured Daniel Hyman of Lost Horizon fame on vocals, and I thought that was exceptionally good, like really good. I'm really excited to see where they go next. A tier for me. Like, this is good stuff. Really good stuff. Anything with Daniel Hyman in there is like an automatic A, at least, really. Favorite tracks by them would be Into the Storm, Towers of Gold, and Symphony of the Night. Savage Circus. Made by members of Blind Guardian, or ex-members of Blind Guardian, to sound like early 90s Blind Guardian, and they did that job perfectly. It sounds like really very similar, and the singer has a very similar voice to Hansi's. Pretty good stuff, but, you know, I think I'd really just rather listen to Blind Guardian at the end of the day. We're gonna go with B tier. My favorite songs by Savage Circus are Born Again by the Night, Evil Eyes, and Waltz of the Demon, I think is what that song is called. Waltz with the Demon? Waltz of the Demon, I think it is. Saxon. Another new wave of British heavy metal band that eventually sort of morphed into power metal. Pretty good stuff. You know, you gotta respect Saxon. They've been at it for such a long time. We're gonna go with B tier for them. Favorite tracks by them would be 747, Lionheart, and Crusader. Serenity. A newer sort of power prog band, great production on the albums. War Ages, absolute banger of an album, but the rest of the stuff kind of misses for me. I'm gonna go with C tier. My favorite tracks by them are Ritter, Tod, and Teufel, Wings of Madness, and The Matricide. Good stuff. Seventh Wonder. one of the most slept on power metal bands of all time in my opinion. Extremely good power, prog, metal. I can't say enough good things about it. Mercy Falls, one of the best albums of all time. Tiara is great. The Great Escape, you know, what a great track. Easy S tier for me. I'm gonna put these guys like this, make them a little bit bigger. If you've never listened to Seventh Wonder, I really recommend checking them out. My favorite tracks by them would be Tears for a Father. Also, their acoustic tracks are incredible. Tears for a Father, King of White Water, and Angel Maker. Although, so many of their tracks are just excellent. Check these guys out, please, I'm begging you. Alright, then we have Skywings. Another Japanese power metal band. This time, staying kind of far away from the more visual visual aesthetic of it all. So just making some great, you know, solid power metal. I think these guys split up a while ago or haven't released a lot of music in a while. I remember listening to the one album quite a bit when I was in university. You know, again, like a big Japanese car racing fan, right? So that was cool. Yeah, C tier. My favorite tracks are In Bloom, Gloria, and The Advent Melody. I think that's the third band that has had the song Gloria that I have put in this list. You know, is it just a fact that any song named Gloria is usually a banger? I don't know. Sonata Arctica. Extremely melodious, great singing, great keyboard playing. Yeah, I like Sonata Arctica. Sonata Arctica. I don't know why I find that so hard to say. I really like their album Winter Hearts Guild. I was working at a golf course when I was 15, 16, and I would just listen to that album Winter Hearts Guild in the middle of the blazing hot summer all the time. I don't know why. Great stuff. But I think we're just gonna go A tier for them to me. They're great, but they don't cross over. Like, I'm not gonna put them on the same tier as Nightwish or Blind Guardian. You know what I mean? My favorite tracks by them would be Full Moon, Draw Me, and The Misery. You know, I kind of like Sonata Arctica's more slower stuff. You know, whatever. It's just me. I'm just weird. A tier. Storm Warrior. Now, these guys are very aggressive, Viking, Norseman-themed power metal bands. They're kind of more of like a power thrash band, I guess I would say. Fun fact, I went on a trip to the Dominican Republic just after high school, where I got extremely badly sunburnt. So I spent the next, like, 3 days in the hotel, recovering, not going outside, and just listening to Storm Warrior and slamming Diet Cokes to try to cool down. I'm gonna give them B tier. Pretty good. Pretty good. My favorite tracks by them would be Heading North, Iron Gods, and Ragnarok. Stratovarius. You know, one of my favorites, extremely melodious, neoclassical, great singing, great keyboard playing, good riffs even. S tier. Easy. Easy S tier. My favorite tracks by them would be Learning to Fly, A Million Light Years Away, and Unbreakable. But man, like, there's just tons of great Stratovarius tracks. It's hard to only pick 3. Symphony X. Another really good power prog band. Great singing, great riffs. Kind of cool, kind of chugging rhythms all throughout it. A lot of good concept albums. The only thing I kind of find is, like, a lot of their songs, I don't know if it's just sort of missing. They just kind of feel a little bit empty production-wise. Like, yeah, I don't know. Anyways, it's just a small nitpick for me. They're an easy A-tier band, though. I very much enjoy Symphony X. I listen to them a lot in the gym, actually. Don't ask me why. I think it's just that kind of constant dun 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 dun, like that kind of rhythms they have going on all the time. Anyways, my favorite songs by them are The Odyssey, Sea of Lies, and Out of the Ashes. Good stuff. Theocracy. You know, these guys have been one of my favorite bands for a very long time. One of the first vinyl albums I ever bought was when they reissued their self-titled debut with real drums instead of the drum machine. That was one of the first vinyls I ever bought. You know, I was really debating on putting Theocracy in the A tier, but the more I thought about it, I think they're an S tier band now, at least to me. You know, Christian power prog metal kind of sounds like a recipe for disaster, but Theocracy pulls it off extremely well. Great singing, great songwriting, great riffs, great drumming. You know, I think they just have to be an S tier for me. You know, if you never listen to Theocracy, don't be turned off or scared by the Christian themes. Really, you can't tell that much. Like, they're not you know, like a worship band or anything like that. Great stuff. Favorite tracks by them are Mountain, I Am, and Mirror of Souls, the 20-some minute epic. I think it's almost 30 minutes. Great track. Great track. All right, we have Timeless Miracle. These guys dropped, you know, showed up, dropped one amazing album, and then peaced out. Good stuff. I love their album. Sort of this sort of, you know, the Brothers Grimm, Red Riding Hood kind of theme to it. Lots of werewolf stuff in it. Good stuff. You know, if they would have released more music, maybe I'd put them higher, but because they just released one album and then left, even though it's a great album, they got to go in B tier for me. My favorite songs by them are Down to the Gallows, The Red Rose, and The Voyage. Great stuff. Check them out, it's just one album. Twilight Force. Now this is how to cheese up your band without becoming too cheesy and over the top, even though they kind of are, but it just works for me, I guess, with these guys. I don't know. A little bit more of a serious approach than a band like Powerwolf or Glory Hammer. A little bit more serious, but, you know, great songwriting, great riffs, great singing. Gonna put these guys in A tier. Favorite songs by them are Enchanted Dragon of Wisdom, Flight of the Sapphire Dragon, and Twilight Horizon. The power of the dragon will guide us to the Twilight Horizon. Great stuff. All right, now we got tier or tour. Fun fact, this is what, you know, the god that Tuesday comes from. Tuesday, tours talk, tours talk, Tuesday. You know, that's where it comes from. Great stuff. You know, sort of more of this power, prog, almost kind of melodic death metal sound out of the Faroe Islands. They sing a lot of their older stuff in Faroese, which I always really enjoy when bands sing in their native tongues. I think more German power metal bands should throw in some more, throw in a full track in German, please. Like, you know, there's something about a singer singing in his native language that just adds a little bit of extra, you know, something special to it, and I think they add a little bit more to it. Anyways, yeah, those tracks are great on the more older power prog stuff, and their newer stuff, which is a little bit more along the melodic, kind of more power metal stuff, is also really good. They came with Children Bodom here one time, and I'm so mad that I missed it, especially now, you know, rip Alexi. We're gonna go with B tier for tour tier, whatever. I don't know. This is a long list. I'm losing my mind a little bit here. My favorite tracks by them would be Eric the Red, Northern Gate, and Valkyra. Great stuff. All right, Unleash the Archers. Pretty cool Canadian power metal band. You know, I haven't seen them play, unfortunately. My band was supposed to play a metal festival with them back in 2020, but then something else happened in 2020. I don't want to get into it. You know what it is. Good stuff. They started out with like more, you know, power metal with metalcore influence, but then moved on to more of like an 80s sort of arena rock style, which is still really cool. I really enjoy it. I think they're a great, solid band. Definitely A tier. A tier. My favorite tracks by them would be General of the Dark Army, Tonight We Ride, and Apex. Great stuff. All right, Virgin Steel. You know, Virgin Steel is another older band that kind of gets lumped in, but they definitely moved into the power metal realm with the Marriage of Heaven and Earth albums, and even Noble Savage, or is it Age of Consent? Well, one of the two is what Perfect Mansions was on the re-release. Unfortunately, a lot of their newer music is like completely unlistenable. The singer, he does like this weird, like he does it in the older stuff, but not nearly as much, and doesn't sound as bad. But the new stuff is sort of like this like bird sing. I don't know, whatever. It's, you know. The old stuff is still good, though. You can always listen to the old stuff. But this has to be a C-tier band for me. My favorite tracks by them are Perfect Mansions, Crown of Glory, and Child of Desolation. All right, so Visigoth. Maybe another band you could maybe consider more traditional heavy metal, but whatever, this is my list. I'm going to choose to put them in the power metal list because that's what they think they belong. Great riffs. Cool baritone singer who has a great voice, good theme too. Really like their stuff. We're gonna go with A tier for Visigoth. Like their stuff quite a bit. My favorite tracks by them are Mammoth Rider, Sun and Steel, and The Revenant King. All right, X Japan. You know, one of the biggest bands ever in Japan, who just so happened to also be like a visual K, hair metal, alternative, power metal. The Art of Life album is definitely a power metal album for sure. Whether the other stuff is, not so much. I'm not as biggest fan of like the later, you know, Rusty Nail, like that kind of stuff. It kind of gets a little bit too melodramatic, I guess, for me. But a lot of their power metal stuff is very good. So I'm just going to relate them just on Art of Life, which you should check out, by the way. It's a 30-minute epic about life. You know, I gotta give these guys an A tier. Favorite tracks by them would be Art of Life, Kunardai, and X. Alright, Yngwie Malmsteen. Himself. I'm just gonna include all of raps, or all of Yngwie Malmsteen's stuff in here. You know, Rising, whatever, I don't really care. A lot of the stuff is good. Very neoclassical stuff. I really like it. The power metal stuff in the 90s is also really good. Even the hair metal stuff is good. I'm going to put these guys in A tier. My favorite tracks by them would be I Am a Viking, Seventh Sign, and No Mercy. Now, as I'm going through this, I realized I somehow missed Rhapsody and Rhapsody of Fire. I guess I just must have missed it when I'm making the list. All this stuff, all the Rhapsody stuff, I'm just gonna include under one banner. Like, this is really good stuff. You know, the Rhapsody of Fire stuff, I'm just gonna include all under the same banner. This is an A tier band for me. Extremely neoclassical, great singing, extremely over the top, very fast. I think I'm gonna go for Rhapsody. You know, I gotta go with the classics here. Dawn of Victory, Emerald Sword, and Thunderdome, I think they're called. Or I think that song's called. Yeah, great stuff. Yeah, so all the people were just losing their minds of me forgetting Rhapsody. There it is. I didn't forget it. Almost did. It was close. But anyways. So that is the end of the power metal tier list rankings. You know, you can tell. You can really start to see what I kind of like here. The sort of more rocky, you know, more bluesy influenced stuff I'm not as big a fan of. But the sort of more neoclassical stuff definitely gets higher up to the top. You know, what bands did I snub? Did I snub your favorite band? Did I miss your favorite band? You know, leave that in the comments down below. I would love to hear your guys' opinion. What do you consider an S tier band? Do you agree with my picks? You know, is there a band that I put somewhere else that you put in S tier? You know, leave it down below. Thanks for watching me nerd out about power metal. You know, I noticed there wasn't very many videos on this. I figured I should make one. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. This has been Varvis. Remember to like and subscribe. Cheers.